everyone. I'm Jescent, and I have three poems for you today. And the first one is entitled If I Could Be a Rock. If I could be a rock. I am a rock of many varieties. I could be sedimentary rocks from my ancestors, like their blood and stories that I carry, their words and whispers, our culture and old traditions. I could be a sedimentary rock to prove my sentimentality. Metamorphic rocks would be more accurate to describe my kind, like multicultural traditions formed from years of different colonizations, forced to be bent, compressed, having its looks completely changed. Honestly, it's Filipino history in a nutshell unveiled. But if we look past my rocky culture and maybe past my tradition, when it comes to meeting new people, I'm your regular igneous rock. I can be a sparkling jade of envy when people speak their true poetry. I can be an obsidian, born fragile and hot like a glass that was formed from the flaring love of both my mom and dad. I may be a gemstone with different cuts, told to be radiant but to carry a shield, to defend and protect by surrounding crystals around my obsidian heart. Maybe I'm the earth, composed of different rocks, and not just one, like my organs creating different systems and the types of rocks that form different chemical persistence. A variety of crystals, but made from mostly quartz. It could be different shades, but I mostly reflect what you say. Since quartz comes with many forms of colors, purple, brown, yellow, and rose, amethyst being the closest to the actual me, contaminated by the chemical element iron like my blood that I sometimes wish was purple. I identify myself most to the crystal quartz, to be clear to the people around me, capable of storing much memory, to be unique and change my colors easily, to reflect the light that I see around me. The next poem that I'll be saying is Petrichor and Coffee. Summertime madness, and it's finally autumn. Leaves have dried. Not really. Steaming into the hot scent of falling rain, steaming into the hot, cemented, thermally expanded floor. It's nice to have a warm cup of coffee in this heavy, rainy day. Green leaves, a tropical reminder. It kept me warm back then. But as I sip on this coffee, it's as if the world has shaken. Who am I kidding? As if the heat and water mixed with stone, combined together, and it's what's petrichor. A familiar feeling every time it rains, seldom and more rare than the location of my birth. Small crisp sugar, caramel crumble, steam of brown earthiness, coffee beans, white foam steamed milk, and hopefully not rotten. All kinds of coffee at the cafe, chopped pieces of dark chocolate, leaving after scents of cocoa. Windows fogging, misty cool blue. At least I'm accompanied by coffee and the pitter-patter from the roof. And the last poem that I'll be performing with you today is I Wish to Be Fluent. Words cannot express feelings in my mind. A silent lightning that whispers and fades away. A crackle without thunder. A shake trembling my eyes. The skies, the nature, restless. The light before the sound as the scene plays before my feelings are processed. Space out, phase, a glass wall on my face. A mist from my breath held back from the thoughts, the waves and constant neurons wiring through my brain. I wish to speak, but it's as if tape was glued on my mouth, leathered inside, dried out tongue. As if my tongue was cut and my hands are tied. Words are so much harder when less thought out. Words might make my head jumble, but it's the way we communicate. Verbal, a sound, words spill out of my mouth. Vibration comes from the throat, maybe when I try from the diaphragm. Speak, but it's as if I choke on my own ideas. They're too fast. And if I try to explain, it's as if I spoke another language. I wish to be fluent. Thank you. And the next poet laureate that will be performing today is Chloe.
So, hi, I'm Chloe. I'm currently the Daly City Youth Poet Laureate, and I'm sharing 3 poems with you today. The first one is titled Case Study of Shaman Dada and the Burning of 1986, and it's a haibun, which means it's a prose poem followed by a haiku. Museum, screaming white walls, the sunset sky burning red above clouds. Moths circle the heat of candles on the steps. Art speaks from the mouth of longing, and governance is not always longing. Front of the Cultural Palace of Xiamen, on November 23, 1986, the first time they burned their art. 29 years prior, the first rocket was launched into space, a burning hot, star-searching thing. The art burns like a bomb, and you must remember that where there's smoke, there's fire. In the heat death of the universe, art wakes in the embers. And in the aftermath of burning, art remains impossibly alive. And daylight, nothing more than the horizon splitting in two. Thank you. So my second poem is titled Backyard Sightseeing. For years I waited, pressed against the clothes in the closet, balancing on my dad's leather suitcase. 16-cent goldfish in the $20 tank downstairs. On the beach in Half Moon Bay, my sandcastle fell with the tide, though I would never know that. A round trip to home and home again, I was still scared of sailboats and English class. In this way, we are the same and forever so. We laughed, your cheeks rosy with youth, and your hair tickling your ears. And I picked you up, 20 pounds of skin and bones and baby fat and too much joy. Your warm breath against the backs of my hands, back when 13 was too big a number and too old to be, back when it was enough to carry you, wide grin and all, on my shoulders and see the world. Thank you. And here's my last poem titled Sunshine. Here are the stars at the edge of the world. We are still young and there are 50 million years until the end. Or maybe a few minutes. Porch light glowing on the dirt path. Geckos and all other beautiful things circle the sunshine. Heat turning to joy and then gone again. But hey, calm down. There's nowhere else I would rather be. You know what I mean, right? Moonshine in our dreams and gold footfalls against the dirt of the rugged terrain. I'm a liar, after all. Maybe I should have started with that. All other beautiful things already dead, and 20 seconds to the end. Bone marrow tearing into the dying sun. Fewer words have made sense for more. Let me know when you find the meaning of all this, and I will be there waiting. Thank you.
Woo!
And our next speaker is Hanna Docampo Pham.
This poem is called My Mother's Language. 1. Today, girls don't tie their toes so tight their bones break to be confined to 3 inches, golden lotus, 4 inches, silver lotus, 5 inches or more, iron lotus. Lest mothers teach their daughters the grounded spirit that of embrace the back-breaking burden we have only known by fate, by norm, fold us into their hands. Of the generations of women and girls who did, we still don't know the numbers, why they press this lullaby to our tender foreheads so we may rest. 2. They said English was a difficult language. I said nothing, my tongue too frail to bridge the distance between a thick tongue of fog and the reed mat waiting at the steps. Robbing ourselves of the land like the clothes on our backs, my people, we begin to define nature. My mother says English is a living language, not her first, but that is meaningless, common ground, unstable. Child, they say, once immigrant, always immigrant. I recognize my mother's language. 3. No synonym for girly or manly. Unbound forecast, 1848, woman's earnings and property no longer at the disposal of her husband. 1920, women win the right to vote. 1948, women can fight for their country, keyword legally. Correction, some women. Today in public schools, we look at male or female before grade. What does it mean to the memory of the voices they stole? Lifetime stutter a tongue, no English becomes an anthem. Underneath heavy eyes, survivors by burials of history, I speak. Thank you.
Woo!
Our last poem we're gonna perform together, and it's for Miss Eileen. Hi, Miss Eileen.
To the
San Mateo County Poet Laureate of 2020 to 2022.
Dear Miss Aileen, a while ago, someone told me that poetry wasn't meant for a person like me. And it's not often that we find people who will understand what we're trying to do. When we talk about home and the music of day and the way pavement feels in the midst of July, will they understand? When we find people who do understand, we need to keep them close. Even if I didn't understand that at first, you showed me poetry was beautiful, and we watched as our words danced across screens. Dialect is a funny thing. Often we say we speak a certain amount of languages, but how often do we skip over a community ones? In the Bay Area, there's the Bay Area slang, the classic, oh, you know, no, yeah. Compare this to someone in Illinois. Compare this to poetry.
When we speak and read and write poetry, we're making our own way of thinking. Miss Eileen, thank you for teaching me my own dialect through poetry, for reading my poems and accepting my words as they are, instead of forcing me to break apart my language to fit someone else's standards. You uplifted young voices and gave each of us chances to shine and be unique and unravel our colors. For your creativity and smartness, inspiration and courage, enlightening young kids, making each and everyone proud of our own skin. Or in other words, I think Miss Eileen is pretty cool. In other words, Miss Eileen, you helped me and so many others find our voices. Thank you for being you. Thank you endlessly and forever.
For passing the torch of hope and information, resourcefulness and dedication, letting light escape through the cracks for the moment time splits open, when you're more than the sum of your past, word count, endings cut short by deadlines, so this story never has to end. For when the future of our dreams fits within frame of poetry, for seeing the line between poet, earth, and us become blurred, for our voices tuned higher than just words. For the spaces you find buried within your own city, your own library, your own school that you didn't know about, wouldn't know about. For each welcoming, for finding that place within yourself. For the moment you learn to call yourself a poet.